All right, we're back for a full self-driving beta video. We're going to show the good and the bad, the pros and the cons. 11.4.4, 2023.7.20 is our build. And we are good to go. We've got our navigation destination set. And we are leaving my neighborhood. I have mentioned before, and we're not in beta yet. I've mentioned before that, the neighborhood here is under construction, and the car has done remarkably well going around parked cars. We're gonna go ahead and engage. So now we're in beta. Blue line here shows that we are in. And turning out of my neighborhood, come to a stop, stopping for stop sign, creeping forward for visibility. Good to go, makes the turn. All right, good solid right turn. That's pretty much the easy stuff, the child's play that we've done a number of times, but you always want to make sure that it gets it done. There we had a car cut in front of us. Beta kind of slowed down, maybe didn't need to, maybe a little overly cautious there. Let's see if we can adjust the camera a little bit. I don't know if it's wiggling too much or what. There we go. Hopefully it stays a little more steady. So, as you know from my other videos, I am not acting like this is perfect software. It is certainly far from perfect. You cannot go to sleep. You cannot take your eyes off the road. Matter of fact, you agree. Nice camera setup. What's going on here? You agree when you take on the software and enter the program to abide by certain conditions, and those are that you're always going to have hands on the wheel, be ready to take over at any time. So the software is relying on you to be there in case it makes a mistake, and it does make mistakes. Other people make these videos, and they say that it goes for hundreds of miles without a mistake. The only way I could possibly see that happening is if it was driving hundreds of miles with no other cars around, no turns, no stops, no intersections, no construction, nothing out of the ordinary. I don't know where you find a multiple 100-mile stretch where that's the case. This is going to be interesting here. We're on a newly paved road, and it looks like it's coming in and out of the visualization. If you can see here, let's see if it looks better on full screen. Where it's picking the lines up fairly well, but this is just it's kind of ambiguous here. It's 3 lanes, but what's that center lane for? It doesn't really say. Now, this is one of my pet peeves. Normally I would disengage here because we're at railroad tracks. We have a lead blocker, so we were able to take those at a 30 miles an hour, a fairly slow speed. But without a lead blocker there on railroad tracks, the software unfortunately will just keep going, and it'll hit the railroad tracks a bit too fast for my liking. So typically every time I get to railroad tracks, I disengage and report it. Railroad tracks, roadkill, and potholes are my main disengagements at this point. Roadkill's terrible. I mean, there could be a pretty nasty thing in the road, and the car will just run it over and squeeze it. This is an interesting turn, so very strange turn there. I'm going to report that. I am not a fan of how the car just handled that. Took that right turn on red very aggressively, seemed to just speed up and then overturn to the right. Thanks, guys. So recording sent. So that's how we send our disengagement in. Even though it took the turn and we were fine and we were driving and we were safe, it was not better than what a human would have done. At least a sober human. Maybe like a human who's drunk would take that turn like that, but it was really strange. It's like it stopped at the red light, took the turn really fast, a bit too far to the left, and then overcompensated by going a bit too far to the right. So not a fan of that. Here we have a left protected at a light, but cars coming. Interesting. The car took that pretty well. Took it how a human would pretty much take it. even though there was cars coming, it was a dynamic situation. We were already going. We had the flow, we had the momentum, and all we had to do was really keep that momentum and make our left turn, and it would be safe for everyone. And I'm impressed. Beta did that pretty well. So I know this path that we're on pretty well. It looks like my camera just wants to keep shifting. I'm going to keep shifting it back. This current path should be pretty easy for the software. Let's see if this will help keep it straighter. Of course, it's telling me to pay attention to the road because I'm messing with the camera. Oh, that did not exactly work out how I wanted it to. The road is bumpy and our mount is not really complying. I am going to continue to mess with it until it complies. I will beat you into submission, mount. Although it really just does not want to comply, does it? Well, sorry about this, fellas. Still hoping that we can maybe upgrade our mount at some point here. So we're at a red light. This is Tesla full self-driving beta 11.4.4. Navigation 2022.44-14515. Getting some updated navigation data always is welcomed. And in this case, now this is like the mundane stuff. And this is a drive I do a lot, just in and around my neighborhood. And now we're leaving our little bubble and heading to a neighboring town. But it's as easy as it gets. This is where the software could be really close to level 4, level 5, where it's just on a 2-lane road, double yellow, going 35 miles an hour, maybe kick that up to 40, and going straight for two or 3 miles. This is the simple stuff. I don't anticipate any issues here. I don't anticipate a disengagement in this scenario. This is where I am pretty confident in the car. Doesn't mean I don't pay attention. I've always got my hands on the wheel, at least one. And like a lot of other people have pointed out, beta testers are often safer than other drivers because we're being extra attentive, because we've agreed, hey, we're not gonna mess up this software. We're gonna be good stewards of our responsibility. And it doesn't mean there's not some ding dong beta testers out there, but most of us are, I think, have our heads and hearts in the right place, and we're trying to do what we said we were going to do. The ones that I take issue with, or that I think maybe are doing a disservice to the cause, are the ones who act like the disengagements never happened. The random wide turns, or turning in front of a car. One of my videos, we turned pretty close in front of a car I was not happy with. Being able to go over railroad tracks, being able to avoid potholes, being able to avoid roadkill. These guys, they say I've gone 100 miles without disengagement. Well, did you destroy your suspension by driving over potholes? Or are you driving a route that doesn't have any potholes? Here in Central Ohio, unfortunately, we have potholes. Weather changes, water gets into roads, cracks freeze, things expand. And right now, this software is not able to compensate for that. And unless I want to destroy my wheels, or worse, I have to disengage and go around those manually. I do think there's an incredible revenue opportunity for Tesla when they do fleet mapping of things like this, and they're able to identify potholes, and when one Tesla knows about it, the entire fleet would then know about it, allowing others to avoid it, both visually, but also just having that pre-knowledge that, hey, the fleet said there's a pothole here. Let's be aware. I think with potholes, roadkill, things like that, there's a pothole that luckily wasn't on our path, but it would have gone directly over it. I think the fleet learning could be incredible in that sense, and I really hope Tesla incorporates that into their model. Is that a pothole? Yeah, it was a little one, and we got it. And I hope that they sell the data to the local municipalities and say, hey, do you want to do you want a map of all of the places you need to send a crew to fix your roads? The work has already been done automatically by our fleet. For a small fee, we sell you a current map. You go out, fix the roads. You don't have to waste time identifying problems. You know exactly where they're at. You know exactly the size of the hole. Cut back on your material costs. We don't have to overbuy because we know the exact size of our problem. Really, that's just scratching the surface of what the fleet data can do. But I've heard other people speculate about that. I think it's a good idea. Hey, camera. Yeah, I'll fix this camera issue. Not a big fan. It wasn't an issue for the first few drives, but for whatever reason now this mount does not want to stay straight. Cool. We are just under a mile from our destination. Pretty boring drive. That's how a lot of these drives go. You don't hear about these ones too much in the news. You typically just hear about the sometimes warranted but often overblown edge cases. You don't hear about the 99 out of 100 or 999 out of 1,000 that go well. Here the car is choosing a new lane. Whoa! Okay, we're going to do a disengagement there. That was terrible. Not sure what happened, but the thing just swung us into the shoulder. I'm going to call this urgent. Thank you. Urgent swung us into the shoulder. That was a first. So we're going to re-engage here and stop at the light. But wow, just as I'm talking about this being boring and mundane, that is a very new and unexpected behavior. I'd be curious if we look back on the tape, if it saw something and it was thinking it was avoiding something. But yeah, I'm still trying to just process that. That is not something that's happened before. That's where the beta bulls need to be honest. I mean, I can't be the only person on earth that's happened to. Very, very, very strange. Okay, make sure I know where we're going. So it looks like we have one more right turn followed by a quick left to get to our destination, and then we'll wrap this up and hopefully adjust the mount for our drive when we leave. Beta is nice at an intersection like this. If you know Central Ohio, this is 750 and 23, and it's a pretty notorious for accidents because people drive like idiots. Obviously, robots can also drive like idiots, as we just saw a moment ago, but robots are getting better quickly. And people, I'm not too sure about people. I actually remember a couple versions ago, well, maybe 6 months, 8 months ago at this point, the software did not take this intersection very well. In the other lane, in this left lane, it would want to go left of center for some reason. That has since been corrected. So I'm able to see noticeable improvements at specific locations, which is always a pleasant. This is interesting. So now we have a right turn. We don't really have a right turning lane, but maybe the car thinks that we do. So it's kind of making up a right turning lane. And we have someone behind us, so that's interesting. And it's telling me to take over. So that was interesting. The car got very confused there at the end. It thought the shoulder was a right turning lane. And another example of the good with the bad. I don't, that wasn't life or death, but it was confused, and without a steering wheel, without a human to take over, there could have been a problem. So just going to show that we're not at level 4, we're not at level 5. Removing steering wheels from these cars isn't happening anytime soon, but it will happen at some point. It'll happen when it happens. Timelines are not our friend. We're not trying to give timelines. We should just be trying to get the software to be better each and every day, kind of like we should be doing with ourselves. And eventually one day we're going to be like, wow, that only took 20 years, 30 years, whatever the number is. All right, we'll get this camera adjusted for the next drive.